spoilers on the internet.
Mm,
This is definitely becoming more and more of a thing.
yep.
I've definitely been spoiled for something that I was highly anticipating
hmm
personally, and
hmm hmm
it got spoiled, and that sucked. And yeah, there's like this kind of hipster like mental like where like you gotta like people that have to be the first to know information and
hmm
like be the ones to share it with their buddies, like their friend group and stuff. Like you always have that friend who's always like, kind of the first to tell you this kind of stuff, and they like kind of pride themselves on that. I feel
Yeah.
like that's what these spoiler people are doing. They kind of like pride themselves on like, I know this and you
Yeah.
don't. I'm gonna tell you. And it's just like, can you go away, please?
Yeah.
Um
They're probably
so
they're probably into CrossFit too because of how much they like to brag on
y-
themselves.
yeah, no, I'm talking about, I guess, blatant spoiling. If you're talking
Yeah.
about like, I think something like IGN or Easy Allies, like in the thumbnail or like in their footage, posting
Yeah.
spoilery stuff. Now that's a whole different
Oh,
conversation.
yeah, because they did that.
Is that what happened?
I remember IGN doing something like that with the Burning Shores DLC. They totally spoiled something in like a tweet or a thumbnail or something like that, and it's like, dude, what the heck? The game
I,
was
I,
hadn't even been out a couple
I
days.
think everyone spoiled that. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there has been, yeah, and I guess that's more what the tree you're barking up, Dorian, is just sort of like putting kind of the main thing out there so that people just click on it. Yeah, that's pretty unsavory. I mean, like especially for outlets like IGN who get the things early.
hmm
And it's like no one has even had time to play it. This is what like kind of like Colin Moriarty always talks about. Like we're playing these games with you,
Yeah.
so we're not spoiling anything. Like we don't even it's like we're part of like we're with you, audience, when we're doing this.
Yeah.
So and so just like outlets like IGN just knowing, like, oh, I know that like at the 20-hour mark is when X happens and
hmm
brace yourselves for it. And here's a headline about that. It's like, go away, please, with that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And like, let us
Yeah.
play the game and then like put those kind of articles out months after if you must, kind of thing. Or like, weeks after at least before or after people have played it.
Yeah.
So
Man, I was, as we do from time to time here at the Reform Gamers, we like to bring the Bible to bear on some of these topics. And man, I got the perfect verse for people that are just totally cool with spoiling games and just do it to annoy people or ruin people's enjoyment. This comes from Romans 3, chapter 10. No, Romans 3, verse 10. Duh. It says, as it is written, none is righteous. No, not one. No one understands. No one seeks for God. All have turned aside. Together they have become worthless. No one does good. Not even one. Yada, yada, yada. You guys can go read the verses for yourself there. I say that tongue in cheek, being a little jokerish, but at the same time, man, I really think it's just some people just want to watch the world burn. I don't understand why people get enjoyment out of ruining moments in games for other people, like intentionally doing that. If you do it like accidentally, I get it. But yeah, anytime a new game comes out that I'm really looking forward to, I'll go into Twitter and like set certain words to be muted. I'll even go to certain people I follow and mute them so I don't see their tweets show up in my timeline to get spoiled. Because yeah, I've had like Trails, for example. I have been doing my best to avoid any and all spoilers as best as I can. And some things have slipped through the cracks. YouTube is like, hey, you're watching Trails videos, you're looking up builds and all this stuff. Would you like to watch this trailer for the new game that comes out in July that you're not anywhere close to playing? It's like, no, you numbskull. What are you doing? Don't show me
uh-huh.
that. But I get it. I appreciate it. You're looking out for me. You're just a goofy algorithm. But there's been sometimes where, and I'm going to say this too. I've been guilty of this too, where we're excited about a game, we want to show it off and share it with people and share that excitement with others. But at the same time, it's like maybe slow down on the shares there, because you're kind of revealing maybe a boss or a power up or something that people just didn't know was in the game. And it's like maybe we need to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. And that's why I'm trying to do better on even Twitter and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna at this point in the game, I'm not gonna share anything beyond this. I'll talk very vaguely like I do on the podcast about trails, and say things are happening, people are doing things, and there's stuff, and that's about as far as I'm going to go. But it just, I don't know, man. I think we also just live in a culture where, because of social media, you Doran, you mentioned clicks there. I think that's 100% absolutely what some people's motivation is. They want that attention. They want people to flock to their thing and be like, "Oh, that's so cool that you're playing this," or like, "Oh my gosh, where's," they want that attention. And I think that definitely fuels it a little bit. But I do agree, even just from my own experience, like, I think we all kind of need to cool it a little bit with some of these things, and especially if a game just came out, you don't need to be sharing stuff like right out of the gate, like IGN did with. I mean, of course, there's that one spoiler that's been floating around that's been talked to death on YouTube, but there's a few others that I saw for Burning Shores that I saw from Twitter, and I'm like, I haven't even played the DLC yet, and now I've got like most of the DLC ruined for me. I know what happens, and it's like I wasn't even looking for it, you know.
Right.
So it's the internet's great for a lot of things, right? But it also allows people to just be turd blossoms in that
Yeah.
regard. So
Yeah. But definitely like that what you said about the tips with like putting filters on Twitter and things like that,
yeah,
blocking different,
oh, you gotta do it, man.
words and accounts and stuff. That's a good way of going about it in some regards, depending on what platforms you use. I'm doing that right now with Jedi Survivor. So yeah.
You gotta do it, man. You gotta do it. And this, I'm gonna save it for later. I was gonna ask, like, what even constitutes as a spoiler?
Well,
But
that is a whole separate
that's a whole other
conversation.
thing. We'll save that for another episode, because that, yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
other conversation.